I go hard in the gym. Forget about cramps. I'm on my Shannon Briggs flow. Yeah, let's go, champ. What's going on, guys? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing, live and direct on Google Hangout. Uh, we're gonna try something different here on True School Sports. If you guys, for the most of people that are subscribed to the channel or have seen my videos and are stumbling across this one right here, I'm doing things differently. Usually I just kind of report on the news and give my little really brief take on what I think of the fight, and I do that. And when I do that, a lot of videos come out, so to kind of eliminate, excess amount of videos coming out and just being more efficient and giving my subscribers more value, I'm going to be shooting more videos like this, breaking down the fights, getting a little bit more in depth as I should, and I feel you guys deserve that. I feel I should be doing that, so we're doing it now. We're going to start off, breaking down this Anthony Joshua and Charles Martin fight. But before I do this breakdown, let me give a couple of shout-outs out to the people at the Heavyweight Factory. I was there pretty much all day yesterday, and I got a chance to really I got a chance to obviously see Shannon Briggs, so shout out to Shannon Briggs. Shout out to the homie Craig. Shout out to his son Chan, who I got to talk to. Chan's a big Lomachenko fan. Shout out to Jesse Robinson, who does the knit work over there. Shout out to Stacey McKinley. Shout out to Amiri Mom, the young master. Shout out to Trevor Dream Bryant, who I got a chance to interview with an up-and-coming heavyweight, 16-0 with 11 knockouts. Stay tuned for that interview. Shout out to that. Who else? Oh, shout out to, I know you subscribed to the channel now because I saw it earlier, but shout out to Evan Holyfield. Evander Holyfield has an 18-year-old son who's an amateur. I got actually a chance to meet him and talk to him. So you'll see videos of him working the bags and stuff like that. I did an interview with him. So shout out to Evan Holyfield as well. Had a great time talking to you, talking boxing with you. And shout out to that fine Venezuelan chick that was doing the mitt work. I think her name was Maga or something like that. Shout out to you too. But anyway, I'm a little under the weather, guys. So if I sound congested or I got a sneeze or whatever, bear with me. But we're pushing through it. Champion lifestyle here on True School Sports. So the first fight I want to break down, because I got a feel I want to break down. But the first one I'm going to break down is going to come in the form of Charles Martin versus Anthony Joshua. This will be in London at the O2 Arena for the IBF Heavyweight title that Charles Martin recently captured. It was a vacant title that was previously held by Tyson Fury. He had to vacate it. He fought Glaskov on the undercard of Wilder Spilka. That was a weird fight, man. I had him winning. I wasn't too impressed with what I saw. He has a jab, but to me, he doesn't throw with too much conviction. The only thing I would say I like about Charles Martin is that he's good at he's just good at fighting. He can fight. If it comes to a point where a brawl breaks out, I think that's his most favorable scenario in any fight he has, especially if he's fighting a guy with skills like Joshua. So let's get into it. Martin, 23-0-1 with 21 knockouts. He comes in at 6'5", 80-inch reach. He's a southpaw. He has the experience advantage as far as professional fighting goes over Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua has that amateur pedigree. He has the gold medal. Anthony Joshua comes into this fight 15-0 with 15 KOs. He's 6'6", has an 82-inch reach advantage, and he fights out of the orthodox stance. So right off the bat, we see two advantages from a physical standpoint for Anthony Joshua. He has the slight height advantage and slight reach advantage. So obviously, being that he has those, range control, I think, will be a big thing for him. Because if Anthony Joshua is not able to control range in this fight, then the fight's gonna have its ebbs and its flows, and it's gonna flow to a scenario that will favor Charles Martin. Charles Martin, if Anthony Joshua has a hard time establishing his range and controlling his range, then I think that's when Martin can make it more of a fight. And if it becomes more of a fight, that's when I think the fact that Martin does have more rounds. Anthony Joshua did have some stamina problems. We saw him gassing out a little bit in the Dillian White fight. So I think that this could really a lot that alone right there, the range control is going to be a huge key in this fight because it'll set up the table for all the other variables in the fight. So Joshua obviously he's a favorite, being that when you look at it first glance, he's the more skilled fighter. He has, seemingly the same amount of punching power, if not better than Charles Martin. He opens up this fight as far as the betting odds go as a 7-1 favorite, which obviously I have no problem with. I think he's a better fighter in terms of skills, but for where he's at right now in his career, this is actually a risk for him. Now, back to the Dillian Whyte fight. Dillian Whyte was a guy that fought Joshua when he was really green, really fresh in the amateurs, beat Joshua in the amateurs, and this is kind of a revenge fight. So, but if you go back and you watch that fight, Joshua was very stiff, especially early in that fight. He wasn't really trusting his jab in the early stages of that fight. I think it was round 3 or round 4 you saw Dillian Whyte hurt Joshua, and we had to see, which was good. It was good to see that. It was good to actually see that because we wanted to see how Joshua would react in that situation, and he was able to recover and basically just recover and eventually do what he had to do to win the fight. So I gave him a lot of credit for that. He got better as the fight went along. He trusted his jab a little bit more, and then before the knockout, he was in the pocket a little bit more. He stayed in the pocket a little bit more as the fight went on, and he had some success there. So it'll be interesting to see fighting a guy who's bigger than Charles Martin. When will Joshua at any point in the fight begin to fight in the pocket more like he did against Dillian Whyte? I don't think he will, but I'll tell you one thing. He had a hard time trusting his jab early in the fight, and he was very stiff. As much as I don't necessarily believe in Charles Martin's pure boxing skills, I will say that if Anthony Joshua has a hard time controlling range, especially early in this fight, I'm telling you, Martin's going to have some success. So if Joshua does not stick that jab on him early in the fight, I think this is a fight that Martin can take him to the deep waters, really test that stamina of his, and that'll be Martin's best chance, in my personal opinion. As far as and the thing is too, you look at Joshua, you look at the fact that he's never been past round. This Dillian Whyte fight, that was his longest fight. He went to the 7th round, so he doesn't really necessarily know what it's like to get into those later rounds or the championship rounds per se. So I want to see if Mark can get him to that point, and then I want to see how Joshua reacts in that manner. I look at these two, and we kind of do this with a lot of fighters. You look at common opponents, and one common opponent that Joshua and Charles Martin had is they both fought career heavyweight gatekeeper in the Brazilian Rafael Zubano Love. Rafael Zubano Love is pretty old. I think he's like 38 or something like that. But he's fought guys like Andy Ruiz Jr. He also was probably the best opponent that Shannon Briggs has fought since Shannon Briggs has made his little return to boxing. So, Rafael Zubano Love went 12 rounds with Shannon Briggs, or 10 rounds with Shannon Briggs. He also went, and Shannon Briggs won a decision. He also went 10 rounds with Charles Martin, but Charles Martin stopped him in the 10th round. So, there's that. And then Joshua fought him last year, I believe it was his last year, and he stopped him in the 2nd round. He just destroyed him. It was no match. So if you want to use that as a barometer, I think that's the best barometer you could use, being the fact that they have a common opponent. But like they say, man, styles make fights, and we know that Joshua has had some stamina issues. And we know that Charles Martin is not necessarily the best pure boxer. He don't have boxing skills per se, but he does know how to fight. So I'm saying, like, if Joshua doesn't know how to control range in this fight, and he's not trusting that jab early, like I said, the fight's gonna ebb and flow like fights always do, and a fight will break out very early if Joshua is not able to control that range. So I'll be looking for that all fight long. I think that's what you guys should be looking for too in that fight. The heavyweight division, we have guys like Deontay Wilder, we have guys like Tyson Fury, we have guys like Luis Ortiz. Those guys are at the top. Charles Martin's, he's like the worst champion out of the bunch, clearly. But I gotta give him a lot of credit. He talked a lot of trash. The first glimpse I ever got of Charles Martin was when he did an interview with Ellie Seckbach, and he was at some sort of charity event, and he was talking about how none of these guys want to fight him. All these heavyweights are garbage. There's all these great fights to be made, and none of them want to make them. And he was talking about how he would do that. Yeah, how he could make great fights. I'm putting my tape line, dog. I'm going bald. But anyway, he was talking about how he would make bigger fights happen if he ever had a belt. And credit to him. He did what he said he was going to do before he was champion. So you got to give him a lot of credit. I also give him a lot of credit because he's fighting a guy in Joshua who is by no stretch of the imagination a safe opponent. He's a very dangerous opponent. He's an undefeated opponent, and he's going to go to the UK to fight him. So, hey, he's a very tough guy. Got a huge heart for doing that. I respect him for that. And I think whoever wins this fight, they're in a good position, but depending on how their promoters handle the situation moving forward, they're in a very precarious situation because Martin at 23-0, like I said, can fight, but don't necessarily has the best boxing skills. He has a lot of fine tuning he's got to do, and he's like 20. I think he's 29. So when you're 29 years old, you kind of are what you are. Once you bake a cake, it's a damn cake. So Charles Martin is what he is, and he's a limited fighter. So I don't favor him in any fight against any one of the other three champions, or even like a guy like Brian Jennings. I think those guys would all beat him. Even a Spilka, I think, would have a good chance against them. So I'm not big on his skills, but if Joshua wins this fight, all of a sudden, with 16 fights into his pro career, he's a champion, and then you're gonna have all those guys at the top looking at him, saying, okay, you might have, Tyson Fury will be looking at him because that'll be a big fight in the UK. You'll have, and everybody will be looking at Joshua because he's a big name. He does big money, does big numbers, and the fight with him would make a lot of sense because number one, he's young. He doesn't have a lot of experience yet. Two, he has a big following in the UK. 3, he has a title. And 4, you're gonna make good money if you fight him. So, if he wins, fighting Joshua will probably make more sense than any other champion in the heavyweight division. So you're gonna see a lot of heavyweights vie for that fight. Maybe we get to see the Joseph Parker fight. I know that was a fight that people wanted to see. I know Joseph Parker, being he's from South Africa, he's an undefeated heavyweight as well. He wanted to fight Anthony Joshua. He called him out and he said, hey, let's fight Joshua, and I'll show you who's the real deal. And that fight didn't happen for whatever reason, but it is what it is there. So with that being said, Joshua, I think he's in a good position. I don't think Eddie Hearn will necessarily rush him into any fights that he doesn't think he's ready for. So if Joshua does win this belt, I expect to see him fight a series of gatekeepers, ex-contenders, a Malik Scott type of fighter, maybe a Tony Thompson. If Tony Thompson hasn't retired by then, hopefully he doesn't get beat up too bad by Luis Ortiz. Those are the kind of fighters I see him fighting. Maybe 2 or 3 of those until he gets to about his 20th fight. Then he might step it up a notch and maybe fight like a guy like a Brian Jennings, a Pulev, and then after that maybe he goes out to one of the big guns. That's how I see it happening. But predictions, man, predictions. As far as the prediction for this fight, obviously, I do think there's scenarios that favor Charles Martin, but I'm going Anthony Joshua. I just don't see how he's gonna lose this fight. I think he's gonna learn from the Dylan White fight. That was a great experience for him. Had that fight not happened, had he not gone through that experience, I would probably have this fight a lot closer. But because he's already gone through a little bit of adversity, getting hurt, he knows how to deal with it a lot better now. But I'm picking him because he has the better boxing skills. He's got better talent. And I feel really if he plays his cards right, he can stop Martin under 5 because he's a beast, man. Joshua can fight. He can fight. He can box. He can punch. He's got a little swag to him. I like Joshua a lot. So I got him stopping Martin under 6 rounds. Martin's never been stopped. Obviously, he's undefeated, but I got him stopping Martin. Joshua can punch. But, I want to see a good fight. I want to see Martin go there and prove to the naysayers like myself and the rest of the people in the boxing world that he is better than what we think he is, and that, despite a very bizarre fight with Glasscock, that he did deserve that belt. So, Charles Martin, this is your grand stage. This is your stage to prove to all of us that, you're better than what we think you are, and that you won't just be some sort of one-hit wonder. You kind of just won a championship heavyweight belt because the promoters gave it to you. Some of us do believe that, and we want to see that you can go in there and fight a game opponent, a great opponent in Joshua, and potentially beat him and give him a good fight. So Charles Martin proved us wrong, and I got Joshua stopping this boy in under 6 rounds. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think would be better for boxing? Do you think it would necessarily be better for boxing if Martin stays champion because we'd have a second American heavyweight title holder, and then you could eventually hype up an American super fight with Martin and Wilder if he's able to win this fight and win fights down the road. You can build them up, and that could happen. Or you could have a second UK title holder in Joshua, and then you could hype up 2 potential super fights because like I said, I made the video earlier about David Haye wanting to fight Anthony Joshua. David Haye, as we all know, is making his comeback to boxing. I do know some things about what's going on with David Haye, but I don't really want to talk about him right now. But you guys will find out in about a week or two. Anthony Joshua, he'll be in line for some super fights down the road. We talk about David Haye, Tyson Fury. There's more super fights on the table for Joshua to be champion than Martin, so I think I personally believe it'd be better for boxing if Joshua was a champion. But I'm looking forward to a great fight. I think a lot of questions about both of these 2 undefeated heavyweights from different sides of the pond are going to be answered. Is Martin just a paper champ, a hype job, a guy that just kind of won a title by accident, or is he actually a legitimate professional heavyweight boxing champion? And as far as Joshua goes, is he a hype job? Is he the next David Price? Is Charles Martin going to expose him? A lot of questions will be answered this fight. Ultimately, though, I think Joshua comes out victorious. But you guys out there in the boxing world, let me know what you think. Who do you got winning this fight and why? Anthony Joshua or Charles Martin? How do you think the winner of this fight will affect the overall landscape of the heavyweight division? Leave your comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. And you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, and next time will be pretty soon, take care, guys.